The Mongol invasion of Hungary began in the spring of 1241 as part of a wider campaign to conquer Central Europe. Instead of advancing as one large army, the Mongols divided their forces into several columns that crossed the Carpathian Mountains through different passes. This strategy, planned by the experienced General Subutai, confused the Hungarians and prevented King Béla IV from concentrating his forces in one place. The largest Mongol force, led by Batu Khan and numbering an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 cavalry, entered Hungary through the Vereki Pass. The Mongols remained closely coordinated despite being spread across different routes, allowing them to destroy isolated Hungarian forces before they could unite. As they advanced, they left a trail of devastation. Villages and market towns were burned to the ground, monasteries were looted, crops were destroyed, and livestock was seized or slaughtered. Thousands of civilians were killed or taken captive, while survivors fled westward carrying terrifying stories of entire settlements being wiped out. The speed and brutality of the invasion created widespread panic across the kingdom, with many believing no army could stop the Mongols. One of the first major settlements attacked was the town of Vak. The Mongols soon overwhelmed the garrison, and once resistance collapsed, the town was looted and burned. The destruction of Vak spread panic throughout Hungary. By the spring of 1241, King Béla IV of Hungary knew that all-out war was unavoidable. Refugees poured into the capital, carrying terrifying stories of entire towns destroyed. Béla realized that if the Mongols were not stopped soon, they would overrun his kingdom. And so the king issued a call to arms across Hungary. Noble families gathered their knights, bishops raised troops from church lands, and soldiers arrived from every corner of the kingdom. Béla hoped to unite Hungary's feudal lords behind a single army capable of stopping the invasion. The army gathered on the plain of Pest, opposite the royal capital of Buda, on the eastern bank of the Danube River. The core of Béla's force consisted of the mounted nobility, heavily armored knights who formed the striking arm of the Hungarian army. Alongside them came their personal retainers, lighter cavalry, infantry levies raised from noble estates, crossbowmen, and militia drawn from royal towns. The force in total consisted of some 25,000 men. Leaving the plain of Pest in early April 1241, Béla IV led his army eastward across the Great Hungarian Plain. The march was slow. Thousands of cavalry, infantry, supply wagons, livestock and camp followers stretched for kilometers, making the army difficult to maneuver. While Béla hoped to force the Mongols into a decisive battle, the invaders had no intention of fighting on Hungarian terms. As the royal army advanced, Mongol scouts shadowed its every movement. These reconnaissance parties rarely engaged directly. Instead, they observed the Hungarians from a distance, reporting the size of the army, the pace of its march, and the location of its camps. Subutai now possessed a remarkably accurate picture of Béla's movements, while the Hungarians knew very little about the Mongols beyond scattered reports from terrified refugees. On the 9th of April, Mongol advance units made contact with Hungarian scouts near the Sajo River. Small skirmishes followed as both sides probed each other's positions, but neither commander committed his main force. Batu and Subutai had already selected the battlefield they wanted. The Sajo River formed a natural obstacle, and the nearby bridge offered an obvious crossing point that the Hungarians would almost certainly try to defend. The Hungarians reached the western bank of the Sajo on April 10th and established a fortified camp near the village of Mohi. Rather than constructing earthworks, they followed a method commonly used by both European and steppe armies. Hundreds of wagons were drawn into a large rectangle and chained together, creating a makeshift fortress. Under the cover of darkness, the Mongol army quietly approached the bridge over the Sajo River, hoping to catch the Hungarians by surprise. Instead, the defenders spotted the movement and rushed to block the crossing. Hungarian soldiers met them with a fierce counterattack, forcing many of them back and leaving the narrow crossing littered with casualties. Believing the bridge was the Mongols' only route across the river, King Béla IV ordered more Hungarian troops to reinforce the crossing. Confident that they had gained the upper hand, the defenders concentrated their strength around the bridge to prevent another assault. Subutai, however, had anticipated exactly this response. Rather than relying solely on the bridge, he devised a plan that would attack the Hungarian army from two directions at once. While Batu Khan launched a direct assault against the bridge to occupy Béla's attention, Subutai would secretly lead a large force several kilometers downstream. Just after dawn, Batu Khan launched his attack against the spanning the Sajo River. The crossing was defended by a strong Hungarian force under Archbishop Ugrin Chak of Kalocsa, supported by Duke Koloman of Slavonia and a contingent of heavily armored knights. The Hungarians had positioned some of their best troops there. The first Mongol assaults met fierce resistance. Several Mongol attacks were thrown back, and for a brief moment it appeared that Béla's strategy might succeed. Rather than continuing costly frontal attacks, he ordered forward siege engineers equipped with Chinese-designed traction trebuchets and powerful stone-throwing catapults. These machines, normally associated with sieges, were deployed directly on the battlefield. Large stones crashed into the Hungarian positions, while incendiary projectiles and volleys of arrows rained down on the defenders. The bombardment gradually forced the Hungarians away from the bridge, allowing Mongol troops to establish a foothold on the western bank. Throughout the night and several miles downstream, Subutai and thousands of horsemen silently crossed the river, completely bypassing the Hungarian defenses. Back at the bridge, fighting again continued as Hungarian troops launched counterattacks at the Mongols, and as the fighting again intensified at the bridge, Subutai's force struck the Hungarian camp from the south and east. Only then did Béla realize the scale of the danger. The Hungarian army now found itself caught between Subutai's cavalry attacking from the rear and Batu Khan's troops advancing from the bridge. Horse archers rode around the perimeter of the Hungarian camp, releasing continuous volleys of arrows into the packed defenders. Other cavalry units struck the exposed flanks, while fresh formations rotated into the fight, ensuring that pressure on the Hungarians never eased. The Mongols gave them no opportunity to recover. Using catapults and fire arrows, they began to bombard the wagon fort. Inside the wagon fort, conditions rapidly deteriorated. Thousands of soldiers, horses, wagons, and camp followers were crammed into a shrinking defensive space. Mongol arrows fell almost constantly. The enclosed camp, designed as a fortress, had become a trap. Several Hungarian nobles urged King Béla to lead a massive cavalry charge in an attempt to break through before the encirclement tightened completely. Others argued for remaining inside the camp and fighting defensively. Precious time was lost as commanders debated their next move. Rather than sealing the encirclement completely, the Mongols deliberately left a narrow gap in their lines to the west. To the exhausted Hungarians, it appeared to be an escape route. As panic spread through the camp, thousands of soldiers abandoned their positions and rushed towards the opening. It was exactly what the Mongols had intended. As the fleeing Hungarians poured through the gap, Mongol cavalry closed in on both sides, turning the retreat into a running massacre. Horse archers pursued the scattered survivors across the countryside for miles, shooting them down as they fled. The battlefield dissolved into chaos. King Béla IV narrowly avoided capture. Protected by a small body of loyal knights, he broke out of the battlefield and fled westward. By the afternoon, the Battle of Mohi was over. The Hungarian army had been annihilated. Around 10,000 Hungarian soldiers were killed, although some medieval chroniclers claimed even greater losses. The Mongols had suffered several hundred dead at most. More damaging than the numbers was the loss of Hungary's leadership. Much of the kingdom's military elite had died in a single day, leaving the country virtually defenseless. For the Mongols, Mohi was one of the greatest victories of the Western campaign. Through superior reconnaissance, careful planning, coordinated maneuver, engineering, and psychological warfare, Batu Khan and Subutai had destroyed the largest army Hungary could field. With no force left capable of resisting them in open battle, the road into the heart of the Kingdom of Hungary lay open.